Story time about the guy who pretended to be gay in high school to get closer to all the girls. So it was the first day of my freshman year, and at lunch this guy came and sat with me and my friends. And we were super confused because he was like one of the popular boys. And we were like, oh, why aren't you sitting with your friends? And he's like, oh, because ever since I came out as gay, they don't want to be friends with me anymore and they're being super mean to me. So we felt really bad and we started getting to know him, and he was actually a really cool person. So we started inviting him to our sleepovers and everything like that. And because he was gay, we felt really comfortable getting dressed around him, talking about things that we wouldn't talk about in front of anybody. So like 2 months go past, and at this point he knows so much about us, like stuff that nobody else knew. Like, he even knew that one of my friends was born with both private parts, which is something that she never told anybody except for me and the girls in my friend group. Well, we're all on FaceTime the one day, and my friend goes, oh, have you ever seen boobs before? And he goes, no. So we all lift up our shirt like for part 2. Okay, part 2 about the guy who pretended to be gay in high school to get closer to all the girls. So like I said, we all lift up our shirts, and because we were on FaceTime, we couldn't see if he screenshotted anything. And then the one night we were having a sleepover, and he was really upset that night because apparently the popular boys were making fun of him. Because the only reason why he was gay is because he couldn't get with any girls. So me and my friends thought of a solution, but like we were just trying to be nice. And now looking on it, that is the dumbest shit that we've ever done. And we're all like, oh, well, why don't you just say that you did the nasty with all of us? And he was like, well, I don't think they'll believe it, even if you guys said, yeah, you did do it. So we were like, okay, then let's do it for real. So that night, we did the nasty, all 5 of us. So that morning, we all wake up and he's literally gone. Like, he didn't wake us up to say goodbye, which wasn't normal. So the weekend goes past. Monday, we go to school. And in the morning, my friends and I have time to walk around, and everybody's just staring at us, like for part 3. Part 3 about the guy who pretended to be gay to get closer to all the girls. So like I said, we got to school and everybody's just looking at us. And all of a sudden, we get tagged in this Instagram account. And there's a video of all 5 of us doing the nasty in my bedroom. There's pictures of me and my friends getting undressed. And there's a screenshot of the FaceTime where we all showed our boobs. And under the post, he was exposing a bunch of shit about us. And my one best friend was literally crying so hard because everybody now knew that she was born with like both parts. And also after gym class, we would just tell him to come in the locker room, and the teacher didn't care because he was gay. So there were also a bunch of pictures of other girls on there too. I'm not even going to talk about the legal trouble, but my parents made me move schools because they cared about my image and they didn't want me hanging out with any of those friends anymore. He got expelled. The teacher got fired for that bullshit. So that just ruined having a gay best friend for me. Oh, also my parents saw me have a foursome in my bedroom. Storytime, I got my boyfriend back for cheating on me by getting him arrested. It was the summer before my sophomore year in high school, and my sister just got accepted to a college that was 25 minutes away from our house. So I would always hang out with her and her friends and go to parties with them. Well, there was this one guy in her friend group that I really liked. And he was 22. And he also had a girlfriend. But did that stop me? No. Because he was really hot. And because we would hang out all the time, him and I were getting super close. We would FaceTime each other all the time. We would hang out even when we weren't with my sister and her friends. Well, the one night I'm sitting at home and I get a call from him. And he's like, my girlfriend and I broke up. I really need someone to talk to. And I'm like, aw, you can come over. I'll comfort you. So he comes over and I comfort him, you know, and then we do the nasty. And the next morning I had to sneak him out my window because my parents would have flipped shit. So him and I start dating after that. And then Halloween weekend comes up. And I go to a party with my sister and our friend group, like for part 2. Part 2 about how I got my boyfriend arrested for cheating on me. So like I said, we got to the Halloween party and we met him there. And my sister had no idea that we were dating. Because I'm 16, he's 22, she would have flipped out. So a little bit into the party, I'm super drunk, we're dancing and everything. So he's really close with the girl who's throwing the party. So he asked her if we can use one of the bedrooms. And it sounded like he said, oh, can me and Millie use one of the bedrooms? You guys are going to find out who Millie is in a second. So we go up to the room and, you know, we start doing the nasty. And next thing I know, some girl walks in screaming at him and breaks a beer bottle over his fucking head. She starts calling him a cheater and everything else. And I get a glimpse of her and it's one of the girls in our friend group named Millie. So I'm fucking shook right now. I'm laying down. He's on top of me. Blood's fucking dripping down my face. And finally she realizes it's me. So I hurry up. I get my clothes on. And Millie's just sitting there looking at me. So I go downstairs real quick, tell my sister I want to go home like for part 3.
Part 3 of how I got my boyfriend arrested for cheating on me. So I get home and I text the girl whose party it was, and she had no idea what happened. So I was just like, oh, it's Millie blah blah blah's girlfriend. And she's like, yeah, but they're off and on all the time. He has a new girlfriend like every other week. So at that point, I block him on everything and I just go to sleep. Well, the next day I wake up and my sister and Millie are in my room. And I'm like, oh shit, here's a fucking intervention. But plot twist, my sister's like, Millie told me what happened with you last night. And I'm like, what? And she's like, how he took advantage of you. And I'm like, oh yeah, that. And my sister was like, it's okay, it's not your fault. Like, we need to go to the police. It isn't right what he did to you. And none of them had an idea that, like, we were dating the whole time. So my sister was like, you need to tell mom. So I told my mom, and then we got the police involved, and now he's in jail. Yes, I know what I did was fucked up. I know I lied. But I have no fucking remorse. Karma's a bitch.
Storytime about how I got catfished and almost kidnapped. So because I just turned 18, I thought about signing up for a few dating apps. So I did. I matched with this really cute guy named Chris. And we chatted on the app for like 3 weeks back and forth. I would ask him to FaceTime, but he would always make up some lame excuse. Yes, ladies, there's a video dating app coming out soon. So no more lame excuses for sus boys. Anyways, so finally after asking him a bunch of times to hang out, we finally made plans to meet up for dinner. He gave me the address to the place and it was like 20 minutes from where I lived. And he told me that he was going to be wearing a baseball cap, and I told him that I was going to be wearing a white shirt and green jeans. So I took an Uber and got there at like 6 o'clock, but when I got in there, I didn't see anybody with a baseball cap on. While I'm looking around, all of a sudden somebody taps me on the shoulder. So I turn around and it's this older guy wearing a baseball cap, and he goes, oh, hi, I'm Chris. So I'm definitely feeling super sus at this point, but I'm too fucking nice to be like, ooh, get the fuck away from me. So I figured I might as well get a free meal out of this. So we sat down to eat like for part 2. Okay, part 2 of how I got catfished and almost kidnapped. So we get seated, we ordered our food, and I start talking to him. You know, I was just trying to be nice and finish my meal, but it was literally so creepy. The whole time he's like, wow, you're so beautiful. How are you still single? Yada, yada, yada. I honestly just wanted to eat and leave so bad. So here I am texting my friend that I just got fucking catfished. And while I was going in and out of my purse, I dropped my phone on the floor. And I know you're probably thinking, oh, why the hell is she telling us that part about the phone? Well, because I'm pretty sure that he put something in my drink. No, like he 100% put something in my fucking drink. So I hurry up and eat my food and drink my drink because I just wanted to get the hell out of there. And my drink tasted totally fine, like there was no bitterness or anything. So while he was getting the check, I went to the bathroom to call my friend. And as soon as I get into the bathroom, I start feeling so off. And no, it was not my anxiety from sus Chris. I also felt like I was gonna throw up. And my friend wasn't picking up at all. So I tried sharing my location with her, which I usually never do, like for part 3. Okay, part 3 of how I got catfished and almost kidnapped. So like I said, I shared my location with her, but it took me forever because I had no control over my body whatsoever. And I was throwing up uncontrollably. So she immediately knew that something was wrong because I wouldn't just randomly share my location with her. So that's when I blacked out, and I really only remember a few things that happened after that. Like I remember being out in the parking lot and him walking me to a car, which I thought was my Uber. So I remember waking up in the car and looking at the dashboard and it being 9 o'clock at night. So I start to wake up a little bit and I realize that I'm in somebody else's car and I can't find my phone anywhere. I'm pretty sure I blacked out again after that because the last thing I remember is a police officer standing over me and shining a flashlight in my face. So apparently there's security footage of him pulling off into a gas station and putting me in the trunk, and he was able to make it all the way to South Carolina from West Virginia. So my best friend shared my location with authorities. Tell me about my worst trip off LSD. So one of the kids in my friend group was about to leave for Arizona, and we would always talk about how we need to trip together before he leaves. And anytime that I would trip off acid, I would go to my one plug. Well, he ran out, so we had to go to somebody else. And I've never tried this kid's stuff before. I just said, fuck it, YOLO. Which should not have been my motto at the time, but it was. So that night, we're in the car, and one of our friends is driving because he's sober, obviously. And before I put the tab on my tongue, I started to get really nervous. And I have never felt like that before I've taken acid. But I kind of just said fuck it, and I put it on my tongue. So we go pick up 2 more people that I'm not really close with. So then we make our way over to our other friend's apartment. And I'm kind of feeling it, but not really. But then as soon as we walk into that apartment, I start tripping balls. And you know, everything was going good. But then my dumb ass decided to look in the fucking mirror. And as soon as I look in the mirror, I see myself smile back at me, like for part 2.
Okay, part 2. So like I said, I look in the mirror and I see myself smiling back at me. And that's whenever everything went south so quick. I sat on the bed, tried to pull myself together because I didn't want to make a fucking scene in front of everybody. But then I got caught in this fucking loop. And if you don't know what the loop is, then I'm going to tell you what it is. It's basically where you feel like you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And then I started looking around at everybody and it looked like their faces were melting. One of my friends got up off his chair, walked to the other side of the room, and I watched him do that. But when I looked back over at the fucking chair, he was still sitting there. So I looked at my one friend that was sober, who I was actually really close with, and I think he saw the look in my eye and he was like, "Do you want to leave now?" And I just shook my head, yeah, like I could not deal with that shit anymore. So we go to his car and then we drive to my boyfriend's house. Because I could not go home. I would have got crucified. Well, we get in the house and as soon as his mom sees me, she knows that something's wrong. Like for part 3.
Okay, part 3. So like I said, I walked in and she knew that something was wrong with me right away. Because she was like, "Oh, I have a letter from your boyfriend." And usually I would run up, grab it, read it really quickly, because I would only get like 1 letter a week. But instead I ran downstairs because her face was fucking melting. So 5 minutes later, she has to come downstairs and help me get dressed into my pajamas because I forgot how to dress myself. I didn't want to be left alone that night, so my friend stayed in the basement with me. So he went and tried to go to sleep, but he couldn't because I was watching Butterfly Effect for 8 hours straight. Like that was the only thing that could calm me down. But I still don't even know all the freaking words to it, which is weird. Like he would try to change the video and somehow I end up back to Butterfly Effect. And then he tried to kiss me. So he left the next morning because he had to go to work, which was at like 11 a.m. And I took this tab at 8 p.m. the day before. So I was getting texts like, "Where are you? You're supposed to be home now." So I had to go home and act normal in front of everybody while I'm still tripping balls. And I also got grounded for coming home late because I could not come home at the right time because I was tripping so hard. And this lasted for about 24 hours.
Storytime about how I found out that my boyfriend was trying to get with another girl on Valentine's Day. Okay, there's a lot that goes into this story time, so let me break it down for you real quick. I was a sophomore and my boyfriend and I had been dating for about 4 months now. And he was a junior. Well, there was this girl that he was for some reason obsessed with in his Spanish class. She was a freshman, and I know you're probably thinking, "Oh, well, how did you know he was obsessed with her?" Well, he would Snapchat this girl 24/7.
Even his friends told me he was obsessed with her.
So I talked to him and I told him I was uncomfortable with how much he was talking to this girl. And he said, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I'll block her." Now, I didn't ask him to do that, but it made me feel more confident in how he felt about me. Well, Valentine's Day comes around. And we didn't talk all day until he came to pick me up. I wished him a happy Valentine's Day and got left undelivered. So we get to the restaurants and we decide to put our phones at the end of the table so that way we would be more focused on each other. Well, he goes to the bathroom and then I see this name pop up on his phone. Like for part 2.
Part 2. So, like I said, I saw this name on his phone, and there was something special about this name. So, whenever I kept streaks, I would put the word streak, and then an emoji, and then the person's name. And he got the idea that instead of keeping her name, he would put it as streak. So I was like, that's really fucking weird. And at first I was like, what the fuck? So I opened his phone, and what do you know? It's from that girl. And she was replying back to a big paragraph that he sent her. And we had school that same day. So at 6:30 in the morning, this girl got a big paragraph from my boyfriend about how she's such a beautiful, amazing girl, and that she deserves somebody who's gonna take her out and buy her flowers and stuff. And how if she wanted to go out to dinner, let him know. He took an extremely long time in the bathroom, so the waiter came to our table. So I ordered $300 worth of food for myself. So when he came back, I told him that I had to go call my mom, and I left. And he was stuck with a $400 bill.
Storytime about how I broke up my best friend and his girlfriend. So it was our sophomore year in high school, and my best friend and I had known each other since we were like 8 years old. And I've always had a crush on him. Like anytime he would get a girlfriend, I would try and break them up. And it would work. Well, our freshman year of high school, he started dating this one girl. Well, when he started dating her, he distanced himself from me because she didn't like how much time we were spending together. So a few months go by and my birthday's coming up. And mind you, within these past few months, we only seen each other like twice. And he had me blocked on all social media. Well, our parents were really good friends because we lived in the same cul-de-sac. So my mom invited him and his parents to my birthday party. So at the end of my party, my friends left and him and his parents stayed. And my parents really didn't care if I drank alcohol, so we had like a whole bottle of vodka to ourselves. So we're in the basement and we're taking shots together. Well, I got him super drunk and he fell asleep. And while he was sleeping, I went on his phone and like for part 2. Part 2. and I was able to get into his phone because he stole my fingerprint from when we were best friends. So I unblocked myself on all social medias, and there was an ottoman pushed against the couch, so while he was sleeping, I was able to go lay next to him. So while I was laying next to him, I took a few pictures of us, and I saved them in his camera roll. And I also sent one to his girlfriend. And it was about 1 in the morning. Well, she opened it right away, and then she started going off and would not stop calling his phone. So after that, I turned his phone off. So he started to wake up, and then we started drinking more. And then we started fooling around. And while we were doing the nasty, I took a video. But he didn't see it because the phone was in front of me. And I had his girlfriend on Snapchat. So what did I do? I sent the motherfucking video to her. So the next day, obviously, he found out what happened. So then he came over to my house to talk to me. And I told him how I was upset that she was keeping him from me. So he broke up with her and started dating me. Story time about how my boyfriend was cheating on me with my stepsister. So a little background information. My mom remarried whenever I was in 8th grade. And my stepdad had 2 daughters. One which was my age, and we got along really well. Well, before my sisters and I went back to school, my mom wanted to go on a camping trip with everyone. And my boyfriend was coming because he was really close with my family. So while my stepsister and I are packing up, she starts acting really weird. And we're gonna call my boyfriend Kevin. She was like, "Oh, is Kevin still coming with us?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then she goes, "Oh, are you and Kevin still together?" And I'm like, "We were never broken up. Like, the fuck?" Like I said, she was just being super fucking weird, but anyways, we all get in the car, we drive up there, and her and Kevin start being super weird around each other. Like, they were being too touchy. Anytime that I wanted to go do something with Kevin, she would say, "Oh, Kevin, you can come do this instead." Well, that night, Kevin and I are sleeping in our tent. At least I thought he was. And I wake up to some loud noises in the other tent, like for part 2. Part 2. So like I said, I heard a bunch of noises and talking in my stepsister's tent, and I wake up and my boyfriend isn't in the tent. So I'd be very quiet getting out of my tent, and I go over to hers and I just listen. And oh bitch, I should have just confronted them because I got my motherfucking feelings hurt. He was telling her how he didn't love me at all and how he only wanted to be with her, and how every time that they kissed each other and screwed each other, he felt such a connection between them. So not only was he cheating physically, but they had a connection. Wonderful. So I open her tent and I confront them. This was the most degrading thing I've ever went through in my life. And I said, "I heard you guys outside. And I'm just not the type of girl who's going to come at another girl because my man wants her. Because at that point, he's not my man." She goes, "Sit down, sweetie. We need to talk." Apparently, they're in love. So they started dating. They're still dating. And my parents allowed it. So I distanced myself from all of them. Story time about how I tried to get my boyfriend back for cheating on me, but I ended up with an STD instead. So a little background information. I was dating this guy for about 7 months whenever I was in high school. And I would always hang out with him, his guy friends, and their girlfriends. Well, the one night we were hanging out at my house and he kept checking my phone. And he said it was because he was waiting for his mom to text my phone. So then he had to go to the bathroom and he asked to take my phone with him. And I said no because that's weird as fuck. So while he's in the bathroom, I get a text from a random number. And it's a bunch of videos that my boyfriend took of him doing the nasty with other girls. And there were like 15 videos, all different girls. So by this time, he's been in the bathroom for like 15 minutes. So I go to confront him while he's in the bathroom, like I do not care at this point. And he's gone. My bathroom window is wide open. My curtains are broken. So then I start to text all of his best friends. Like for part 2. Part 2. So it turns out the person who sent it to me was one of the girls in my friend group. So at that point, every single person in that friend group was dead to me and I needed to get every single one of them back. So like I said, I started texting all my ex's best friends and I asked every single one of them if they wanted to hook up. 4 of them said yes, the other 3 just blocked me. And the 4 who said yes all had girlfriends in our friend group. Well, the girls in my friend group had no idea, so they invited me to their party. And at that party, it was my mission to do the dirty with every single one of those guys. Well, there was this bathroom in the basement, which nobody knew about except the girl whose house it was. So one after the other, I did the dirty with every single one of them in that bathroom. And I made sure to snap a picture or take a video, so that way I could send it to my boyfriend. I know, I'm crazy, get over it. Well, in the morning, my ex's closest best friend came over. Well, I did the dirty with him too, because my ex hated him being around me, because he was known for screwing other people's girlfriends. Okay, there's gonna be a part 3. Part 3. So a week later, I started having some problems down there. So I had my mom take me to the doctors. Turns out I have a fucking STD. And nobody knew about it, at least not yet. Well, my boyfriend came over that same day asking if we could get back together. So I thought, what an even better way to get back at him. Give him what I have. Mind you, I was still hooking up with all 4 of his best friends. And then like 2 weeks later, my boyfriend started talking to me about how he was also having problems down there. And I was like, oh, maybe you should go to the doctors. So after he went to the doctors, he texts me and he goes, yeah, I have an STD. So then I sent him all the videos of his best friends and I said, yeah, I hope you enjoy living with that for the rest of your life. And I also gave it to all of his friends and then they spread it to their girlfriends. Payback's a bitch.